All right, what's up, everybody? We are back here again for week number 8 of Backyard Bookies. Scott, a monster last weekend, our first perfect of the season. Um, Pretty good. We also had two upsets. I didn't have a bad week either. We hit two dogs. That's a big time week for us. So yeah, good for you, Scott. You were feeling it last week?
Wouldn't say I was feeling. I don't really feel it most weeks, but sometimes the gambling gods are on your side, and things happen for you. None of those picks really were really sweats either. Besides maybe the Iowa Minnesota pick, because they didn't want to score any points, but that's what we're used to in the Big Ten. There's a very interesting line this week with Iowa Minnesota.
Yeah, the lowest
31.5. I'm not going anywhere
lowest
near that.
total
So.
ever,
Uh,
ever lowest
Yeah,
total
last week
ever.
was a good week, and I'm happy to take the lead again.
Yeah, it was close. I had a couple of tough ones, like Rutgers kneeing the ball out when they could have covered those pussies. F you, Greg Schiano. But let's get to the scores. Like I said, you got a huge week back on top. You got 7. I got 3.5. So we're not out of the woods yet. Just I got to think the Chargers. It should have been 4.5. Good God, disaster at the end of that first half for the Chargers, giving up those points. But we're not here to talk about the past. We're here to talk about the future. I was also 4-1 on my honorable mentions. So a strong week all around if you went with those. But what's your first bet?
So we just talked about this a few seconds ago before we started recording. This over under I took on, I believe, Monday, maybe Tuesday. Utah USC. I love picking the USC games. I don't love picking USC anymore. I'm done doing that. They are just a trash can football team. The guy next door that I'm with here on the road is a USC fan. I hope he hears me. He knows it. I've talked to him about it. But Utah's playing USC at home. USC -7, which is absurd. I think this is a closer game than that. Obviously, Utah doesn't have a great quarterback with Cam Rising out. USC does their thing with Caleb Williams. I'm sure he'll have a bounce back game, but last week was the first defense he's really played that's legit, and he showed his true colors. I think his supporting cast isn't as good as it was last year. So it's not everything. Not everything's on him, but he's playing an actual real defense. So over under this week was 56 earlier. I just took a look literally a few seconds ago. It's down to 53.5, which is telling me everyone's taking the under, and I was taking the under as well a few days ago. Um, Utah, I believe, I want to say they are total wise, they are 1-5. So they've had one over in 6 games. They do not give up many points. Let's see what they have here. Yeah, 14, 7, 7, 7, 13. So if you score 3 touchdowns on them, good for you. USC is capable of doing that, but as well as Utah doesn't have a good quarterback. So not much going to go on there. Obviously, I think any quarterback can score on USC, but 56 seems like too much. 53.5 would be a little scarier for me, but I got it at 56, so we're going to take 56. We're going to take the under.
All right. Interesting. I think USC kind of bounced back this week. I wouldn't necessarily touch that 7. I don't think USC is good, but I think this is a good bounce back spot for them. For my game, I liked my pick a little bit better earlier in the week. It's up to 6.5 now, but it's still under a touchdown, so we're gonna ride with it. I like the Memphis Tigers this week going to UAB here. UAB's defense is just, I mean, it's the worst in the country, to say the least. They're 125th in rushing yards, 127th in first downs, 120th in yards per play, 113th in points. They can't stop anybody. They can't stop anybody. They can't do anything. Memphis, not a bad 4-2. 2 quality losses there. Lost to Tulane last week. That was a tough game. Kind of tough. Other loss, Missouri. Missouri's a great football team. I mean, maybe not great, but they're tops in the SEC East behind Georgia right now. So maybe they win the SEC East. Georgia missing their best tight end. They beat Boise State 2 weeks ago. I like this Memphis team. I think they're a solid squad here. Like I said, I liked it a little bit better here, but I'm going to ride with it 6.5. I think this is just kind of a mismatch in quality here. UAB's not stopping Memphis. Memphis 27th in the country in passing yards. Not a great running team, but they can throw the ball all day. They're an efficient offense. They haven't really been tested on the road. They played Arkansas State on the road, but they housed them. So I guess that's an okay sign. I can't imagine Birmingham's going to be raucous or anything like that. So I like Memphis here at UAB. I just think this is a total mismatch in offense, defense, and Memphis, not a bad team. Like I said, 4-2 with two quality losses, and UAB just, yeah, awful on defense.
Who's the head coach of UAB? Isn't this kind of
Oh, it's
a
whatchamacallit, Trent Dilfer. It's Trent Dilfer.
Trent Dilfer? I thought, yeah, I knew they had kind of had a big time head coach. Yeah, I don't know if you saw 98% is on Memphis.
I
The
saw it. It's
public.
a little scary. It
That
was
is that
90.
is terrifying.
It was 99 when I saw it. It was 99.
That is that's the highest I think I've ever seen. So that's a fun little thing to see uh, on action. I've never seen anything that high, but yeah, I like the pick. Let's see. We'll really spread. UAB's covered. They're 4-3
One.
against the spread. Memphis not as good against the spread, but we'll see. Memphis at home. Sorry, UAB at home. They've lost 4 of the last 5. So
Like they
no,
didn't cover 6.5 at Mizzou. They lost 34-27. Like that's a pretty tough no cover right there. And then getting 5 from Tulane. They pushed with Boise. I think the only bad one was Navy that they were 12-point favorites on, and they just won by 3,
yeah.
or 4. So it's kind of tough for them, but they've been playing good football, I think.
This seems like a gambler's kind of game. You don't really
Degenerate.
know much about each game. You don't really know about each team too much. So I definitely don't. So kind of going off of the 98%, I have another game that is very highly picked for the public. West Virginia, Oklahoma State. West Virginia is at home. They play really well at home. It was way higher earlier in the week when I looked at it. I want to say, yeah, earlier in the week it was 91% was on West Virginia. It's gone down a lot. It's down to 63. So feeling a little better. Oklahoma State coming off like a decent win against Kansas, but obviously Kansas didn't have their quarterback. Oklahoma State's a bad team. I think they barely squeaked by some teams and pretty bad losses as well.
They've been good in conference, though. They've been good in conference. Beat Kansas State. Kansas.
They've beat Kansas State, which is a good team, who was pretty heavily favored against TCU this week, and then lost kind of close one with Iowa State. That was a 1-1 score game. So they're getting better, but I just like West Virginia at home. They play really well at home. They're 3-0 against the spread at home. Total wise, they're about right down the middle. So both teams not really a factor with total. Though it's probably going to be really just a toss up there. It's 49.5. So yeah, it could be 28-21 and some kind of a game like that. But I don't know. I think West Virginia against the spread's been doing really well, and at home they've also been doing really well. So, Morgantown's a crazy place. So, anytime you go there, it doesn't matter who you are. It's going to be a rowdy atmosphere. 3.5 doesn't seem like too much. The hook is kind of a little scary. I don't know how special teams are for both teams, but anytime you got kickers involved, that's pretty terrifying. But I think West Virginia can cover the 3.5. Basically solely on their home record against the spread.
Little worried about West Virginia here also. Heartbreaking loss on the Hail Mary to Houston. Pretty much ended their Big 12 hopes. I mean, they had Big 12 championship hopes. They were undefeated in the conference and only had to play Oklahoma. So there was definitely a scenario where Texas slips up again. They only lose to Oklahoma and they're in the Big 12 title game. So we'll see. But like you said, very good home environment, especially this time of the year. It's getting a little chilly out there, folks. Getting a little chilly, so some weird stuff can happen up in the mountains. I know Bear said one of his least favorite places to go play was Morgantown when he was with Oklahoma, so that makes a lot of sense. I'm going with a team who's undefeated this season, and they're not undefeated against the spread, and they're not undefeated in the record book, but they are undefeated on overs. How about your LSU Tigers? LSU they have no defense, and last week was the week. If they were ever going to hit an under, it was last week against Auburn. Auburn just pathetic offensively, and they still managed to hit the over because they hung 42 and Auburn scored like 20 points. So they got Army coming into town, triple option. That's no good for a shitty defense either. Their defense is going to have their hands full. Now, I know Brian Kelly has faced the Service Academy's wall at Notre Dame, but guess what? He was pretty average against Navy. He had 3 losses to Navy, was undefeated against Army, but like they've kind of flipped their roles. Like Navy's now the power, or Army's now kind of the good service squad, and Navy's kind of down where it was the other way. So the triple option, a little too much, I think, for this terrible defense. And good God, is it just bad? And Army can run the football. They're going to run the football. They're going to run the football. They're going to power it down their throat. But LSU's offense is awesome. Army's defense isn't great. They're okay in the pass, but not a great run defense whatsoever. LSU's going to have no problem scoring points. It's kind of a weird game, scheduled in the middle of the SEC. They got Bama coming up in 2 weeks. So I expect them to just keep scoring points. I like the over. I got this at 58 yesterday. It's all the way up to 59.5 right now. That is just crazy movement. People are feeling the LSU Tigers here, and it makes sense. LSU scores some point. Yeah, down a full in less 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours. It's been down, according to Action. So ridiculous movement here. So we're gonna take the 58 here over for LSU.
Yeah, it's pretty safe usually to pick LSU with the over. I want to say they score pretty much first possession easily in the first 2 minutes, so that's usually an easy 7 points right there. But anytime you take a Surface Academy with an over, that's a little scary. But I think LSU can definitely score at least 42 to 49 points against them. And like you said, the Army offense is not super easy to deal with their triple option, so. It's really just anytime you take a Service Academy, it's a little spooky, but I do like the pick. They're undefeated against the total. So
I was a
and
little
they're at home.
worried. I liked LSU, but that was a little worried. It's like maybe Army kind of hangs around a little bit. Maybe, I don't know. It's just so hard to tell
Guys,
without.
that might be your best bet if they hang around a little bit. If it gets too out of hand, then they might start running the ball and milking the clock. That's really the only worry for me. If LSU gets a 35-point lead at halftime, then that second half is going to be quick. So both teams are going to run the ball. It's going to be a quick halftime. So that's really that's another issue to worry about. Hopefully Army sticks around, at least keeps it a 3-score game through the third quarter, and LSU has to keep their starters in. But getting an LSU team under 60, that's usually pretty easy to cash. So for my third one, weirdly enough, going to the NFL here, I saw this. The Bears are, Justin Fields isn't playing. He has a thumb that he can't hold the football. He can't throw the football anyway, but his thumb is hurt, dislocated, has no grip. They're starting. I don't even know his name. What the hell even is his name? I forgot where he played, but I saw this stat when I was on a plane on
Played it
Wednesday.
from Townsend or something, like Southland. He played at some
What's his name?
Division II school in West Virginia. I watched him. Played the Vikings last week when he came in. He's pretty
Yeah.
awful. He's not good. He's not good.
Yeah, so I wanted to say he played his last game in college football. He played against the Colorado School of Mines and got picked off twice and got sacked 8 times. That was his last game in college, and he got drafted, and he's on a professional football team.
Undrafted. He was undrafted, to be fair.
Okay, he wasn't drafted. We'll give him that. But he looked terrified. He looked absolutely scared out of his mind playing against a real professional team, and he's only 2.5 point dogs against the Las Vegas Raiders, who have a quarterback who's played in the Super Bowl. They have
Jimmy G's not playing.
receiver.
Out. Jimmy G is
Well,
out.
Either way,
Brian,
O'Connell can probably get it done. He's played in a real Big Ten.
I think it's Brian Hoyer.
Even if it's Brian Hoyer, even more if it's Brian Hoyer.
It's Hoyer.
If it's Brian Hoyer, he's played plenty of football in his life, plenty of NFL football in his life. Not a big deal. Devontae's been begging for the ball, so I'm sure he'll get plenty of looks. Josh Jacobs is a professional running back. 2.5 points seems like it almost seems like a spooky line just to not take it, but I feel like I don't have a choice. I think Chicago's just going to be running the ball the entire time, pretty much taking the ball out of their quarterback's hands. Devontae hopefully will get 10 to 12 targets, and he'll be happy. But 2.5 it was at 3 and it went down, which was surprising to me. But 2.5 seems like It seems like a lot, but man, it's kind of scary. But we're going to take Las Vegas minus 2.5. They are on the road also playing in Chicago. Might be one more factor to worry about. So not really windy. Pretty 53 degrees. Not going to be weather's probably not going to be a factor. It's mostly just going to be running the ball and hopefully a few throws to Devontae, and it's a 14-3 win or something like that. So yeah, I'm going to take Las Vegas minus 2.5. And if I do not cover this, I'm never picking an NFL game again.
Well, it is the NFL. All right, I'm gonna go a little exotic here. I like to spice things up a little bit. Best game of the weekend, maybe the best game we've seen so far this season. Oregon and Washington, two great clubs there. Not a huge fan of Dan Lanning's coaching. Pretty piss poor. But those two teams, really, I would be inspired if I was Oregon to get another crack at Washington. I know Washington doesn't want another piece of Oregon in that environment, but Oregon's going home this week, and they're playing a Wazoo team that was humming. They were humming. UCLA knocked them off, and now the wheels have fallen off the wagon for Wazoo, getting beat 44-6 last week at home against Arizona. Big yikes, big yikes. Their defense is just not good. They're 120th in passing. They're 110th in rushing. Just a really bad defense. I don't love a total for this game. It's 20. That's a little too much because I think the third stringers are going to come here. I'm going to go first half Oregon here. Oregon tends to be pretty good off of a loss. They don't let it hang, especially coming back home. They're not going to let things dip. They still have everything to play for. Bo Nix, he's kind of good at quarterback. I hate to say it. It's weird. He's good at quarterback. So I like Oregon here minus 11. I think they get out to an early lead. This is a typical, we go up 2 touchdowns, we go up 3 touchdowns. The third string comes in, it's 35-0, it's 35-7, 42, whatever. Just I don't think they finish this game. I do think Wazoo has a chance to backdoor this, but I think this is a dominating early game for Oregon. They want to get out, they want to set the tempo. They're not going to hang their heads. It's a noon kickoff, which is a little scary. Local time, noon kickoff, 12:30 kickoff. So sometimes you don't get jacked up. I would have preferred if it was a night game, but I still think Oregon bounces back here. They have everything to play for. Their season's not over. They've lost all wiggle room, so they're not going to risk it. I think they blow out Wazoo this weekend in the first half at least. So I got Oregon minus 11 in the first half.
Yeah, I like to pick. The 20 is a little scary. I don't know did you get 19 or 20? I don't know. What did you
No,
get
I didn't take that. That was 20 when I said it's 20.
It
I
was
don't want
20.
a
Okay.
piece.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
don't
still
want it.
20 right now. Yeah, Oregon is 5-1 against the spread, so that's good looking there. The one was literally last week, the push with Washington. I had Oregon +3, which is kind of sad. I didn't win or lose, but yeah, they're at home. That's a scary place to play. They're very good at home, 3-0 at home against the spread. 20 is a lot, but if they go up quick, 21-0 could be in the first quarter. So Arizona kicked the shit out of Wazoo last week, and Arizona's playing good ball now, but man, that was a ass kicking. So that's a little demoralizing for that team. So I do like it. 20, like I said, 20 is a little scary, but I do
11?
like the
Ooh,
pick.
very good.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. Wazoo's a decent team, but man, coming off a game they lost by 38 to a freshman quarterback is a little scary for Wazoo.
Yeah, and that was a
But
bounce back spot for Wazoo. They losing at UCLA, nothing to hang your head about, but you got to show up at home against Arizona. That was just
yeah, it's
bad.
pretty bad, very bad. So we're doing prop
Yeah,
or
let's go prop. Everybody likes
all right,
saving
we'll
the
do prop. So
stuff for the ends.
once again, going to the National Football League. This guy's on my fantasy team, but that doesn't really matter about here. We want overs here. I got AJ Brown. His number was weirdly low for me. They're playing a team that's 20. I want to say they're 26th against wide receivers with the Miami Dolphins. His number's at 81.5. And the last 4 games, AJ Brown has gone 131, 175, 127, 131 with basically minimum 8 targets. A lot of those being deep balls. I don't think this is going to be any different than any other game this week. Miami's, they're going to do their thing on offense. They might score quickly, which gives the Eagles more opportunity to be on offense.
This is
Obviously,
true.
Miami doesn't have A-Chain, but they have three other fast guys who will get down the field quickly and probably score quickly. And I think Devontae is kind of definitely moving down to a wide receiver too. He's earlier in the year, I think they were saying, "Oh man, I think Devontae Smith is going to be their number one." It's obviously not happening. AJ Brown is their number one guy. He's big, he's strong, he's going to get down the field quick. He's just like his boy DK, gets down the field quick, large, makes room for himself, and he. I think even earlier this year he was saying, "Why am I not getting the ball?" And then all of a sudden, all these targets coming his way. So over 100 easily in the last four. First game 79. That's even close to the 81.5. So very close on that one. Then over that number four times in a row. So I like 81.5. AJ Brown against the Dolphins.
Yeah, that should be an interesting game. That's two teams that kind of need to prove it. Dolphins need to prove that they can play against a physical defense that can kind of stop the run. And it should be interesting Sunday night game. It's going to be a little chilly, a little windy, but there's been a lot of talk this week about Jalen Hurts, so I think they're going to have to throw the ball a lot to kind of make a point. And the Dolphins' defense isn't great. They're average at best. At best, it's not like you're playing anybody who's going to bully you. So I like this. A.J. Brown's kind of fitted for that, and they're going to feed him. And Devontae's kind of nicked up with a hamstring. They just signed Julio Jones. I'm thinking a lot of targets. So that's a good one here. I am going to go to a Big 12 matchup, classic Big 12 matchup for the first and only time. We have the Texas Longhorns at the Houston Cougars. This is the theme for my week. I'm going against bad defenses. Houston 118th in passing. Texas was off last week. They lost the Red River rivalry, Red River shootout. So they got to stew in that for a little while, and I know it stung. It stung. They had to sit there and listen to it, but obviously everybody says they still have everything to play for. They're still in the playoff contention. I think this is a housing right here. Houston's 118th in pass defense, like I said. Quinn Ewers coming out, going to light it up. His number's 292.5. I like the over here. He's only time he hasn't hit it since the Bama game was Wyoming after Bama. It was kind of weird, but 293 against Baylor where he didn't really even try. They didn't even try at all. I think this is kind of a spot where Texas is going to let out some aggression, let out some anger, maybe hang a 50 piece, maybe go 55-0, one of those bad boys. I think this is going to be a dominant game. I like Ewers to hit this in the first half. Honestly, I'd be surprised if I needed it in the third quarter. So yeah, 292.5 for Quinn Ewers against Houston. Over.
Yeah, so I weirdly have Houston covering as one of my honorable mentions. So we're a
Ooh.
little bit opposite on this one. Obviously, Texas is at home, and they play
It's in
well at
Houston.
home as well.
It's in Houston.
Oh, it's in Houston. Okay, even more. 23.5 sounds good. But did I have that now?
A
Yeah, I
backdoor
did
is
have
always
that.
possible. Backdoor is always possible.
Very, very possible. I mean, it's 23.5 points. It's not like it's a close game. So like a 45 to 20
That's
game.
fine.
That's
That's
pretty
good.
damn close. That's pretty damn close to a cover.
The better
That's
Houston plays,
so
the better it is for me. The better it
very,
is for me.
very true. Yeah, Texas is gonna get the ball and Quinn's gonna
Yep.
throw it down the field. So,
All right. Any
yeah,
other honorable mentions?
yeah. So I have. Let's see. I have a couple here. So Oklahoma, I got -19
I have
against
that
UCF
too.
boys.
It's down too. It was at 18.5 too this afternoon.
Interesting.
They're
Yeah. So
back up.
Oklahoma against bad teams has been scoring very, very quickly in the first and second quarters. They've been going up. I feel like they've been going up 21-0 in the first quarter against bad teams every single week, which is very interesting. I think they do the same thing at home against UCF.
Undefeated
Michigan State.
ATS.
Yeah, exactly. Michigan State have +24.5 versus Michigan. Pretty much basically off my rivalry rule. They're pretty big rivals. Michigan's very, very good. They've been covering every single game. I think they actually are. Are they? They might be undefeated against the spread still.
No, I
But
think it's Penn State, Oklahoma, and Michigan didn't cover any games. Remember, they didn't cover early. They couldn't cover.
That's right.
Michigan's
It might have been.
bad,
Might have been
bad
early
at
on, but
ATS.
as of late, they might be.
They're better since Harbaugh's come back.
They're.
They're
Yeah,
better.
I'm not 100% sure of the numbers, but basically just off my rivalry rule. They play close, a lot of intensity, a lot of passion, a lot of emotion, whatever. Um, 3.5 touchdowns. I'll take those and put them in my pocket. I got the L.A. Clippers.
Oh,
No, Chargers. Um, at Kansas City. Kansas City does not ever cover any spreads. They are the worst, best team in football for gamblers. Take the money line on them every week. Don't take them to cover. 5.5 seems like too much. I think Justin Herbert has a pretty good comeback game against a not. I mean, they're better this year, but still not a great defense. They're playing a lot better this year, but still not amazing. I think he has a better game than he did against the Cowboys. South Carolina and Missouri over 60. I think Missouri has been, I want to say they've been over every single game or close to. So 60 seems like a good number. And then New England just seems like a team that you just bet against every week and you might be a millionaire. Buffalo minus 8.5 at New England it just screams like an easy pick. But I'm taking my one NFL game, and if that doesn't work, I'm never picking it again. So
I
um,
like I like that. Yeah, the Bills have been pretty awful offensively the last 2 weeks. Maybe they get some frustrations out on the Patriots. I have a few NFL best honorable mentions. Rams -3 versus Pitt. I don't think Pittsburgh's that good offensively. Now, I think the Rams are good. Detroit getting 3 against Baltimore. I think Detroit might be the third or second best team in the NFC, and Baltimore is just kind of the same old Baltimore Ravens. They're not reliable in the passing game. Lamar has to run, and the Lions pretty good on defense this year. So I like Detroit there. I have an upset kinda. I like Utah at +220 as my honorable upset this week. I think that's a good spot for them. I think USC plays well, but I can't trust this USC defense. But those are my honorable mentions. Give me your upset now.
so I did in fact have I want to say I did have the Utah upset as well, but I couldn't do that.
He couldn't do it. It's his own
Couldn't,
team. It's his
couldn't
own
pull the
team.
trigger. That just seems like I don't know that game just Caleb could just be pissed off and just run through Utah. Who knows? But I think it was a pretty good number. I think it was like say it was
+220.
three
+220.
220. That's
Yeah.
man, it's a pretty decent number. I wasn't listening. Sorry, I was looking for my game.
No, I didn't say it. I just knew it. I just knew it.
Oh.
I just knew it.
So yeah, for my upset, this team went to Colorado and lost in triple double overtime. Colorado State is playing UNLV.
That's the other undefeated.
Really?
They're the other undefeated ATS team. It's UNLV. It's Penn State, UNLV, and Oklahoma.
Let's see. Actually, let's take a look. Yes, they are. It's spread 6-0. Well, they aren't going to be this week. Colorado
I
State is
like
going to
it.
come in. Colorado State's going to come to Las Vegas and take them down. It is a 7.5 point spread, +240. I got it at +260, so a
There you
little
go.
higher than it
It's the
was
same
earlier.
on the scorecard anyway. It's 2.5 on the
Yeah.
scorecard anyway.
Really not much to say, honestly. I have been looking through games twice, 3 times. Haven't found a good upset. Really, the Minnesota Iowa game might be a decent upset. I don't know what the
It's only
spread is
three.
there,
There's
but
no way it's.
yeah,
I looked. It's
it
not
wouldn't be over
200.
200.
Yeah.
Yeah, so UNLV is 6-0 against the spread. This is a ballsy pick here, but I'm gonna take Colorado State coming off a win versus Boise State. Not a great loss against Utah State, and then they beat Utah Tech, old Dixie State. They beat them by 21. So, um, they play decent football. Maybe they come into UNLV and win, but UNLV hasn't played anybody. Nevada, Hawaii, UTEP. I mean, what are we doing? Vanderbilt. Their last 4 teams are. I think they've gotten a total of 3 wins this year. So, and then they got housed by Michigan. So let's see how they do against a mid-tier, maybe a little just below mid-tier team. Probably below mid-tier. 7.5 at home. So
The
we'll
hook is
see.
scary. I kind of
The
liked
hook is definitely
UNLV this
scary.
week, honestly, but the hook was a little scary for me. I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. Colorado State just feels like kind of yeah. They kind of that was their Super Bowl in Boulder, and it's kind of been mediocre. I have an interesting game nobody's really talking about here two good teams, two ranked teams this week. Duke at Florida State. Mike
Yep.
Elko's doing an incredible job with this Duke team. He's probably in line to take over at Texas A&M next year when Jimbo gets the boot. He's the lead name that everybody's been floating around, bringing him back. This Duke defense is the best defense Florida State's going to see all year. No offense to Clemson. Actually, yes offense to Clemson. This Duke defense is lights out, and Riley Leonard sounds like he's going to play this week. They've been kind of laughing and joking. Now, that could be a complete ploy. I'd feel pretty shitty if Riley Leonard doesn't play, but if he does play, I love the Dukies here. They're getting 14.5. I think this is a team that's going to overwhelm Florida State offensively, get them off their game. And if you can do that and keep this thing close, it's one or two busted plays. They're not bad offensively. Duke runs the ball really, really well. That's conducive to keeping this thing close. And I just think they're a well-coached unit. I think Duke is a well-coached team. I mean, they lost that game at the gun to Notre Dame. This team could very much be undefeated, sitting at 6-0, and everyone's talking about them in the ACC. So must-win spot here for Duke. I think they give it their all, and we've seen Florida State not be super impressive against teams you would consider inferior. Like, they were kind of mad against Virginia Tech. They played Boston College really bad. They beat Clemson, but I don't think Clemson's any good. Duke 24-3 last week against NC State with no Riley Leonard. Yeah, I'm all in here. I love the Dukies, and you're getting a great number. We're plus 490 right now, plus 470 right now. So I like Duke here. I wish it was at Duke and not at Florida State, but I think this is a good spot here for them. I think Duke's completely undervalued.
Yeah, this was actually one that I was thinking about too. Looking at upsets, I really do like the Duke team. The only thing is the number is so high that it's almost like an obvious pick to pick Duke and watch Florida State cover this number and pretty much surprise everybody. But I do like if I'm going to take a pick in this game, it's definitely the money line on Duke. I'm not going to swallow 14.5 with Florida State, and Duke could easily come out and throw up a stinker in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
That's not a fun place to play on the road. So if I was taking something, I would definitely sprinkle a little something on the money line. The spreads are not that spread does not make any sense to me whatsoever. It could go literally either way, but 470. That's we're looking at close to 5 times your money. So yeah, I definitely, if I'm taking anything, I'm definitely taking the money line on that one.
I think they're maybe a little worried about Riley Leonard. I'm not as much as them. But all right, let's run it back. What are your picks this week, and we'll finish her up.
All right, Utah and USC under 56. Hopefully Caleb can play good football against a good defense, but if he doesn't, then I win. West Virginia minus 3.5 versus Oklahoma State. See, next we have the Las Vegas Raiders minus 2.5 against a bad quarterback in the Chicago Bears. Going to have the prop AJ Brown over 81.5 yards receiving, and the upset Colorado State plus 260 at UNLV, which is more scary than I thought it was going to be.
All right, I got Memphis minus 6.5 at UAB. I'm betting against bad defenses. LSU over 58 against Army. Oregon minus 11 in the first half against Wazoo. Quinn Ewers over 292.5 yards versus Houston as my prop. And I'm going with the Dukies, the Blue Devils, in football, not basketball, at plus 470 to take care of an upset Florida State. Excellent week again. I got to make up some ground here, but if I could do it slowly, I think next week is the last week of October bets, so it wrapped up pretty quick here, and we're already into November. Football's flying by so fast. But if you haven't already, drop a quick like on this video, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We got new sports content every single day here, and we're here every Friday to give you our best bets of the week. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys next week.